Hello friends and welcome. I'm Sarah Liz and I am excited you're here for this emergency card kit rewind. If you're new to my channel, an emergency card is one where we make the cards or tags or ornaments ahead of time, and then I release free printable kits that let you mix and match the sentiments for all kinds of projects. We're using kit number 19 that came out last November 2023. It's the Sassy handmade tags kit. Came out around the holidays, but these tags are pretty generic. There's only one or two that are actually holiday themed. And then kit 48 that came out in October 2024. It's the cute holiday kit. I will link below to the emergency card kit playlist where you can find lots of these kits. They're linked in the YouTube description boxes. And then I will link specifically back to these two videos where the kits were released so you can download them as well. I am going to show you how to make two particular tags or ornaments and a card that you can put them on to give those away. But remember, this is just a method. I'm trying to remind you that these kits exist, that they are free for you to use, and you can mix and match them with the supplies you already have. Don't forget, if you haven't joined my Patreon yet and you can join for free, I will link to that at the top of the description box, along with the tutorial that shows you how to join for free. And be sure to check the polls that have gone up lately. There are ways to enter into the 12 days of giveaways that will be happening on my channel this December. For tag number one, we're going to use the Athletic Apparel die set. It makes jerseys, but it also will just make a shirt or a polo. I'm using the jersey numbers to turn it into a jersey. And then I wanted to let you know there's this sports ball set that is the biggest sports set I think I've ever seen. I've had this in my stash for a while. I think it's really great for Father's Day gifts, cards, tags, or in this case, an ornament. My family is Chiefs fans. My dad inherited season tickets from his dad when he passed. And so he just grew up with the Chiefs, and so did I. I'm making a Travis Kelce jersey, but it could be any sports team that you want, friends. Don't come at me. The other thing that I love about this is the size. That main part of the jersey, the part without the sleeves on it right now, is big enough that I can fit my 2-inch circle for my tag on it. I'm going to show you how I adapted this die to make it match the Chiefs jerseys, but really it doesn't take a ton of explanation. I'm just adding extra pieces. I cut the yellow piece by hand, and then the white piece is supposed to go on the very bottom of the sleeve. I cut 2 of them, and then we'll trim around it. If you're not making a jersey or a shirt, if the die that you want to work with is smaller, just put it on a circle or any of your nested shape dies, and you can make a great tag. Some of my favorite options are from Spellbinders. I love the fresh picked labels and tags. I think it looks kind of like an ornament, so I think it's great for this. And there's a shaker dome option that you can pair with it as well. They came up with a whole series. I think there's shaker domes for the hexi gems, the arches, maybe a couple other things. I'll try to link things below. But again, check your stash, use what you have. It's that time of year when things can get really expensive as we're moving into Christmas. So, don't worry too much about trying to make the exact same ornament. There's a little piece that goes on the neck of this guy, and I just traced with my pencil right below where that goes so I could color it in with a light gray marker, and that way it would look like the shadow of the inside of the jersey. There are debossed details on the sleeves to let you know where to add your glue and where to overlap things. But this really comes together super quickly. I have 2 little boys who are really into sports. So one of them plays baseball and basketball. The other does basketball and swimming. And I just love that this set lets me really make cards for them. I don't have a ton in my stash that suits them as much anymore. So after I put the 87 on, I realized that it's not quite centered. It's a little wonky, and it wouldn't be an emergency card video if I didn't take something apart. So I just stick the pokey end of my pickup stick under there, and I lift that off very carefully. And then that finishes the front of the tag. If I was going to add it onto a card, that's really all that I need to do. But since we're going to make, in this case, a tag, like a gift tag, I'm going to add a little bit of ribbon. This is about a 1/4 inch. It's just been in my stash for a long time. I'm going to add both wet glue and some tape. For me, I know that little hands might touch this. There's lots of kids in my family. All my extended family lives nearby. And this is going to go to my aunt, my aunt who loves the Chiefs as much as my dad does. And so I want to make sure it's like really good and stuck in there. And then I'm just going to use that center portion of the shirt to cover up the rest of that ribbon. And that will finish it off. I have 2 of them. Then I used my Trinity Stamps Emergency Card Essentials die sets. I designed this for Trinity to specifically go with these free kits, but any 2-inch circle will work here. And then I'm going to bring in my handmade tags. There's a ton of just fun, cute little sentiments in there. Then we have little circle sentiments where you can write whatever you want in the middle. Maybe you don't need the to from, but we are going to use one that has the to from right in the middle of it. This one says, I made this. Please tell me I'm amazing. Then get me a tasty snack. I can't help myself, you guys, but there's plenty of them in there that aren't quite so sassy. There's like just plain old to from. And then I use removable adhesive. It is AdTech brand removable adhesive. It sticks really well, right? It'll hold for a couple of years. But next year I can reuse that tag, or my aunt can reuse that tag and just put a new to from on it. For this one, we're going to make an ornament, but you could turn it into a tag instead. I just wanted to give you a couple of options. This is from a collection that came out this summer that I absolutely love. I've been using it a ton this year, and this tree is gorgeous. This set's called the Faux Embroidered Spruce, and you can just layer the branch piece, the tree piece in brown on top of the greenery. And then there's a couple small branches that you can layer on top to fill it in. But I really struggled with that the first couple times I did it. So instead, I cut the entire tree out of green with all of the sort of, they're not leaves, right? Pine needles. I cut that a second time from a different shade of green. And then you can see I'm cutting off little chunks of it and putting them on the opposite side. So it's not super matchy. I can see a little bit of the branch. I can see a little bit of the pine needles in the other color, and it's really gonna fill in my tree. And so I'm gonna go kind of piece by piece. I'll show you a couple more, but it's just the same process. And again, I'm flipping them to the other side, or rotating them, right? I'm still using the good side of the die cut face up, but here I'm going to trim another one, and I'll end up laying that on the right side since it originally came from the left. So I'm going to go ahead and glue the rest of those down. And then on top of that, I'm adding in some little layered ornaments. They happen to be the same colors as my Chiefs jersey, but only because if I'm going to run a die cut through out of red cardstock, I'm going to fill in any of the little pieces and gaps. And so it just was easier to cut the same colors. You could do this in any colors that you want. I'm going to add a little gold star on top. The star does come in the die set. And then we're going to add this inside of an embroidery hoop that we're going to turn into an ornament. I'm going to use one of these little wooden hoops. You can get these from Spellbinders. They're the embroidery hoop frames. They come in 3 different sizes. You get 2 of each size. I think they're probably balsa wood, and they're laser cut. They're not like jagged or anything. I was really impressed with the quality. But if you don't have this, there is, it's called Gathering Stitches, a die set that will cut out an embroidery hoop in really the same size. And it is beautiful. And then that will give you the piece that can go on the inside that has all the little tiny pierced holes. So you can see that I've cut that white piece without the pierced detail. It's sitting to my left. I am coloring this in using some Sharpie acrylic markers. You guys, I have 2 sets of acrylic markers. The Sharpie ones, you don't have to prime. They come with the ink already fully into the tip. It's a brush tip. They're really, really great. And then I have the Ohuhu acrylic markers that are double-sided. It's a much larger set. And one side is like a big, thick bullet nib, and the other side is like a fine point, almost like you could write with it. You'll see those in just a minute. I colored the top gray, but I'm going to make it silver later. I'm using my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to add that stitched piece onto the back, and then we'll end up covering that up to fill in the rest of our ornament. But again, remember, you could make this a tag. I don't need to add anything onto this one, like a little piece of ribbon or anything, because there's already that piece up at the top. But you certainly could if you were just working with a circle instead. I decided I wanted a little bit of red on the back. I'm going to end up covering up the pierced detail on the back with a piece of black cardstock. I just found a circle in my stash that was about the same size, but it's not perfect. So a little bit of that red will peek out from around it. These dry really fast, so I really wasn't sitting around like waiting for that. You could try coloring it in with an alcohol marker. I think it wouldn't be quite as vibrant, but that would work too. I'm adding glue onto my black circle, and then I will just cover up that pierced detail. It's the back side of the die cut, like the ugly side of the die cut, right? So I really like covering that up. It did take a little bit of time for this to really adhere, and part of it is because there's not as much pressure, and part of it is adhering to wood. So be patient, give it time. The Nuvo Deluxe adhesive would have worked a little faster, but once it's dry, it's on there really well. So here are the Ohuhu acrylic paint pens, paint markers. I'm not even sure what to call them. You do have to prime them, but the price point's really good. They come in a really nice case that keeps them all organized for me. And honestly, I have been absolutely thrilled with the coverage on them. They dry really fast, and this set came with, I think, 5 different metallic markers as well. I'm going to go ahead and just glue my little tree to the inside, but you could put anything inside of these little embroidery hoops. You don't need the pierced detail, right? If you just bought the wooden frames, but you didn't want to like have to buy the die set too, absolutely, that's an option. And then on the back, I'm going to use this cute holiday set. It has tons of like lovely sentiments that go well with critters. There were some printable critters you could get. Part of this is linked in the description box of that video, and then some of this is bonus content that you can get in Patreon. Again, there's a free option for Patreon. So if you check that video, it will kind of walk you through how to get everything. But one of the things I released then was a set of larger circle sentiments, and these fit really well on the back of that frame. So again, if you were not using either of these die sets, you're like, I'm just going to make a circle tag or a circle ornament or something like that, this is a great option for you. I love this sentiment. It says, don't let that old man take the credit again. And so it might be really fun to put like a Santa. If you have the Dancin St Nick die, I don't even know if they still sell it. They were clearancing it out from Spellbinders, but he's a favorite of mine. That would be really cute here on the other side as well. I'm going to foil this. I printed it with a laser printer, and then I'm running this through my mini Minc on heat level 4. I'm very familiar with my machine. All of the machines are a little bit different. A fuse would work here, the GinaK fuse foiling system, same thing as a Minc. You could try just a regular laminator, but let it heat up for at least 20 minutes. And then this is some Cheerfoil from Pink and Maine. It's called Sparkle Red, and it has like little sparkly stars and glittery pieces in it. It's so beautiful. So I laid that on top of my ornament, and I just felt like there was too much white space that we didn't need. So I'm going to cut it out a little bit smaller and add in a layer of matte silver cardstock as well. Honestly, you could leave that just black and not foil it, and I still think that works really, really well. I like the black accents on this ornament. On the back, you could instead do a to from. You could stamp a to from, but I don't know. There's something about this one that I really, really love. I want to end with a fun way to give your ornaments to somebody. And in this case, I'm making a 5x7 card to make it work. So the card is 10 inches by 7, scored at 5 inches. I have pattern paper that's 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. And then this is my favorite part. This is the Bestie Heart Hands die set from Spellbinders. There are 2 different hands in that set, and it's very easy to clip just tiny little pieces to separate the fingers if you need to, but I didn't even need to. I'm gonna have my hand reaching in and holding this jersey, and of course, don't judge me. I am making some friendship bracelets, like Taylor Swift themed friendship bracelets to go on my hand, but you could skip this altogether, right? This does not need to be like a Swiftie situation. Honestly, if I'm gonna give the ornament version to my aunt, it's very funny because she's a huge Chiefs fan, but she's not opposed to Taylor Swift. She's just, you know, not really a Taylor Swift fan. So I think it would be really funny to give her this card. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm like losing it just thinking about her opening this. All right, so I started by stamping my alphabet pieces, and then there's a die that just comes with the stamps, or there's a better press version of it as well. It's the Bestie Alphabet Beads and Sentiments. And so you cut them all out at the same time. Well, almost the same time. You have two separate stamps and it will cut just tons of them, right? Then I have the Bestie beaded bracelet. So that's how I got these extra bracelet pieces and the extra bead shapes. So we're going to do fa la 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 la, and then a 'tis the season sentiment that comes from that same cute holiday set that we used for the embroidery hoop and the tree. So I'm just adding on all my little pieces here. I have a little piece of silicone mat under me because I got glue everywhere. I knew it was going to happen, right? It's this thin little piece that is the bracelet. I'm not going to do the back of it. It's going to get covered up by the arm anyway. And I did 2 of these. All right. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, you guys. You've seen it once, you've seen it a couple times, but I did find it was much easier if I kind of laid out all my pieces ahead of time instead of trying to hunt for them along the way. So pro tip, that made it much, much faster. So we're going to go ahead and start adding these pieces onto the card. And remember, you could put any ornament on here. The jersey fits beautifully, but our embroidery hoop fits really well. It's a 5x7 card. So you have 5 inches from top to bottom in landscape. The jersey is about 3 3/8 of an inch at its widest, where we have the sleeves of the jersey, and about 3 3/4 inches tall, just for perspective. There are so many things that could fit there. And again, you could use the hand without the bracelets. You don't have to make this like a Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce situation, but I wanted to show you this to you as an option. So I'm trying to get my placement right. And then I'm going to work on attaching the bracelets to the arm. And I'm just going to stick the little pokey end of my glue bottle underneath some of the beads. I'm not worried about getting all of them. Once I have my bracelets secure, I'm going to glue down the matte layer for my sentiment. We're going to use a rectangle sentiment. Emergency sentiments come typically in 3 sizes. So that red piece is 2.5 by 1.5. The sentiment will be 2 1/4 by 1 1/4. The mats for the circles are 2 inches. The sentiment is 1 3/4 of an inch. And then I typically release strip sentiments as well, and occasionally like an odd size, like the large circles we had. I lined up my hand where I wanted it on my card, and I'm using a sticky mat to pick it up and make sure I'm putting it right back down in the exact same place. And I'm leaving those top fingers free from glue. And you can see I'm lining up the corner of the sticky mat in that bottom left corner of my card. That way I know it's going exactly where I need it to be. I'm not going to smear glue any place I don't want it. I will link that sticky mat below. I buy a 12 by 12 size. It's a silhouette mat, like a off-brand one. And I just cut it into smaller pieces, and I've been using the same ones for years. So because I left those top fingers free, I can slide the jersey or ornament or whatever it is underneath there. And then this is Scotch removable tape. It's really low tack. It's very gentle. And I am just going to tuck our little ribbon around the other side and tape it to the back of the card. And then that way it's really obvious. The ornament moves on there a little bit, but it'll be obvious like how to pull that off, and they can take that off and use it. So here are my sentiments, and I use the tick marks from top to bottom to use my trimmer and cut all the way up to the top tick mark, but not through that top header, so I could leave them connected. And then I use the tick marks on the side to cut this apart. It says, "'Tis the season." Here's my ornament. You guys, I hope that you will give this a try. I think it's super fun, but check your stash. Use the supplies that you have. And then if you're in Patreon, go ahead and add what you make into our community post for show and tell. I am so excited to see your projects. Don't forget to vote in the polls on Patreon to enter to win during the 12 days of giveaways. I'll have a start date soon. I'm waiting for things to show up before I start scheduling stuff. Shipping in Black Friday season can get a little slow sometimes, but I hope that you'll join me. I have tons and tons of prizes to give away. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I will see you next time.